I want to get nerdy for a couple of minutes of your time.
Sure.
I want to talk housing affordability, negative gearing, Tinder, hockey and your mum. Let's do this. Unless you've been living under a rock, you'd know that houses in Australia are ridiculously expensive. Of course, that might be the very reason you've chosen to live under a rock, but I digress. Homes in Australia are the third least affordable in the world, and one big reason for that, according to many economists, is a boring tax policy called negative gearing. Seriously, you're going to need to pay attention. It's at least one of the reasons you still live with your mum, which is at least one of the reasons why you're having trouble on Tinder, but again, I digress. Negative gearing works like this. Let's say an investor borrows money to buy a home, and the interest on that loan is, say, $20,000 a year. And let's say when they rent out the property, they only make $10,000. Well, negative gearing lets the investor take that $10,000 loss off their income for the year. So if they earn, say, $80,000 a year, they only pay tax as if they earn $70,000. And it's that tax that investors aren't paying that's costing the government an estimated $5 billion each year.
Well, they do it because there are so many voters who benefit from negative gearing that no government feels that it can afford to offend.
Here's the other thing negative gearing does. It leads to lots of people buying houses they don't particularly want just to get a tax break. So instead of a handful of low-income earners turning out for an auction for a flat in the western suburbs, you might have noticed a lot of fancy people doing most of the bidding and pushing prices up. It's been estimated that negative gearing alone inflates the costs of homes by as much as 9%, and so potential first home buyers can't afford to buy and continue to rent. Or live with their mums.
For all of the public hand-wringing that goes on about the difficulties facing would-be first-home buyers, there are over 8 million Australians who already own at least one property, and the last thing they want is anything that makes housing cheaper.
Last night, our Treasurer Joe Hockey defended negative gearing. He made the argument that the policy keeps rent low. He reminded Australians of what happened when the Hawke government ditched negative gearing in 1985.
You saw a surge in rents.
Only you didn't. In fact, when Hawke abolished negative gearing, while rents did rise in Sydney and Perth, they stayed the same in Canberra and Melbourne, and they actually fell in Brisbane, Adelaide, Hobart and Darwin. So if negative gearing costs the government billions in lost revenue and pushes house prices up and doesn't keep rents low, you might be wondering why the hell the government allows it. And it's simple. Successive governments, from Keating right through to Abbott, have refused to get rid of negative gearing because 1.2 million Australians are doing it. And that's a lot of voters. About what's best for the economy, or unlucky first home buyers, or Tinder users stuck at home with their mums. It's an argument about what's best for politicians who want to get re-elected. So now, if you're angry about negative gearing and the impact it's had on house prices, I challenge you to do more than sit there in your mum's home yelling at the screen. Here's Joe Hockey's email address. Hell, here's his phone number. Why don't remind the Treasurer that the age of entitlement's over, and that goes for investors too.
I love it when you're catching something. Okay, so I just want to challenge
You know what makes sense? I'm Waleed Ali.